Captain's Log, Episode 66. This week's episode of the Beervengers podcast is sponsored by the Beer and Cheese Collective, located at 35-11 Ditmars Boulevard in Astoria, Queens. Enjoy their eclectic array of craft beer, artisanal cheeses, and specialty grocery items at the Beer and Cheese Collective. On this week's Beercast, Captain Huck and the Beer Wonder welcome Cider Girl and two newly minted Beervengers who just traveled with us on a beer tour of Belgium and Germany. Of course, this features two separate origin stories, 6 unique pours, as well as tales from our journey. And if that's not enough for you, we've got a sequel coming next week. Remember to like, star, and subscribe whenever that feels appropriate. And send us your emails at thebeervengers@gmail.com if you have any questions, suggestions, or if you just like hearing us talk about you on the show. And now, without further ado, please enjoy episode 66, The Beervengers European Vacation, Volume 1.
Well, we're the Beervengers, Beervengers, Beervengers.
We're the Beervengers.
Welcome to the Beercast, everyone. Coming to you from an undisclosed location in Astoria, Queens, I am Captain Porter Brown Stout.
And coming to you from the uptown side of Fresno, California, this is the Pale Male Hophead Huck.
And coming to you from an undisclosed location in the County of Kings, it is I, the Beer Wonder.
And coming to you from the other side of an undisclosed location in the Fresno, it is I, Cider Girl.
And we are
The Beervengers.
Y'all,
I don't know. I thought it was one of the best ones I've heard lately.
yeah, I mean, it's we've never done it like that before. Let's just
it's like a postmodern take on what the Beervengers
I mean, you
are.
might even call it unprecedented.
That's true. Well, it's about to be unprecedented in here, I think, Captain.
Oh,
right?
yeah, there are a lot of unprecedented things happening. Welcome back. I know we've been gone for a while. We've been busy, and we got a lot of stuff to cover. But before we get to any of that, I want to introduce our two guest Beervengers to be tonight. I mean, actually, in many ways, they're already Beervengers, but you kind of have to go through the thing here to I don't know. It's part of the ritual. So welcome Glenn Stoops and the man who I just learned from the New York Times crossword puzzle today. His name background is also a citrus fruit, Emil Angelica. Welcome, gentlemen.
Well, thank you. Pleased to be here.
Great.
So we mentioned on the last one that we were all going to be going on a little trip together, and all the Beervengers who were on the Beervengers European vacation are here to give you an account of all of that. But first, I mean, we've got origin stories to happen, but before we do any of that, it's not really a Beervengers episode until we get to the pours, right, guys?
Great idea. I'd like to go first if I could.
I'm sure you would.
Huck,
Because it's
sometimes
typical of you.
Sometimes what you want to do isn't what you're gonna do. Okay.
Fine.
That's a
Okay.
good life lesson.
Yeah, it is.
Always wants to go first.
He does. Well, it's okay. Cider Girl, I'm sure you're well aware of this.
But we have two guests tonight.
I know.
So it's always polite to let the guest go first, but how do we determine which guest goes first?
Oh, me.
I think that's how we determine.
I
you go.
think that honestly,
it.
that was pretty simple. I liked that. I like that.
I know, Beer Wonder. I know you're usually arbiter of politeness, but
Correct.
as much as I appreciate Glenn's enthusiasm,
Yes.
Glenn has actually been on the show before. I believe it was episode
Oh.
34.
Oh.
Made a cameo appearance. So Emil is the newer guest. So
Whoa.
I mean, have you taught me? Has the pupil exceeded this? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yes. Oh, dear grasshopper, Captain, that you have learned from the young wonder. Well done.
Yeah.
Yes, I do think, Emil, I think you are up first for our pours today. So what have you
Okay.
brought to share?
So I have brought a Tripel
Oh, lovely.
that is a Belgium-made one, and it's Carmelite is the name of the brewery.
Nice.
Mm.
And now I'm going to pour it. into
Okay.
this
Ooh.
glass.
Oh, you've already opened it. Well, you're
Oh,
ahead of the game.
okay.
Very good.
Yeah, very nice. Oh dear. Oh, okay. It's got that beautiful caramel color that I would expect. It's caramel light, right? That would make sense.
That's perfect.
Really
descriptor
subtle
for
head.
it.
Yeah, you didn't even
Look
have to
at
tip the
that.
glass much.
No.
Very good.
Little cloudy,
now-
but I'm digging it.
Yeah, it is a little cloudy. It is. It looks good. It looks very good. Now, do I get to drink it here, or do we wait till everybody?
I mean, you can get
pours?
started as long as you save some for a group toast in a bit.
Okay.
But,
Well, I'm going to try a sip, and I'll let you know.
Okay.
can we see that that bottle one more time?
Yeah, hold that up right next to that glass so we can see. Hold them
Ooh.
right
Oh, yeah.
together.
There we are. Oh,
Oh,
nicely
perfect.
done.
It's gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Lovely. Very traditionalist can art or bottle art, I
Yeah.
guess is what we're calling this. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, no, Glenn, we made you wait. So I think it's your turn.
It was hard.
I have here a brown ale from 50 West.
Oh, that's
Ooh.
near Cincinnati, right?
Ooh, lift that up so we can see it.
Yeah,
Lift
lift
it up
the glass up
high.
just a little bit higher. Oh, there we go.
Ooh, oh, what a lovely color.
Good head growth on that one. Nice and foamy.
Yeah.
Nice mug.
This is a crystal mug from my friend Lori.
Excellent.
Gorgeous.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, and hold that can next to it as well.
Get her on the screen.
Let's take a look.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's great.
There we go.
Ooh.
That looks delicious.
50
Yeah.
West, like the road sign. I love it.
Mm.
Exactly. And that deliberately so, but we can get into that story a little bit. All right. So now that we finally got this, so I'm, am I officially the arbiter now, or do you want to weigh in on this beer wonder?
No,
I
I'm
think
taking-
Cider Girl will be next.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
yeah, that
because-
seemed reasonable. If we're going in order of attendance on the shows, yeah, Cider Girl does need to rep.
Well, I'm super excited about this.
About-
I don't remember much of our trip because of all the beer, but I do remember that we stopped by see, I can't even say it. Delirium. Wow.
Whoa.
We did stop by this brewery on our trip. It was an incredible experience. And this is the red,
Mm.
which I believe, if I'm right, is going to have notes of cherry.
Oh, yes.
Now,
Oh,
did you
yeah.
find that in California?
I did find this in California.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And
Oh, and a matching glass.
in appropriate glassware, we should mention.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course, always.
Or
Right.
plasticware.
Yeah, I was.
This
we
is
learned
and this
anything-
this is actually the first time Cider Girl has had a beer on the show. So
That's true.
that's a momentous in and of itself.
It looks
Gorgeous.
like
Look at that.
it looks
Yeah.
red.
Nice foamy head there.
Look at
Perfect pour.
that.
There we go.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that's gorgeous.
Yep. So this is the Delirium Red. It is not their most famous of their creations, but we tried it and it was the first beer I ever said, you know what? That's okay.
There we go.
That's okay.
That's a ringing endorsement.
I do feel like
Absolutely.
this is a step in Cider Girl's growth. All right. Well, here's the thing. Huck, you were so excited, and I burst your bubble earlier, which is really my job around here. So
You're
I feel
very
like-
good at it.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Let's do it. I
Let's
got
do
a
it.
beer up from Washington, Seattle area. This is Fremont Brewing. This is called Head Full of Fresh Hops. It
Mm.
is a fresh hop hazy IPA. So fresh hops are beers that are made with hops that were on the vine less than 48 hours ago, as it were,
Oh.
when you start. So they're actually, this is made with fresh hops, and I figured out west this is the place to get them, and we're lucky enough to get this here in Fresno. So let's take a look at what it looks like. Seeing a nice, I'm getting like a
Ooh.
grapefruit look here.
real
Oh
hazy.
yeah.
Very hazy.
It was pretty.
Oh,
So
very.
dry hopping with wet hops.
Wow.
It's interesting.
That's a gorgeous foamy head there.
Really
I'm wondering
is.
how long that's going to stick around. Mm.
All right, very good.
Does it smell fruity?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's got a nice citrusy nose, citrus hops.
Excellent.
I'm digging it. Now you guys got to fight it out,
I know.
or one of you could just say, "I'm
I know.
having a beer now."
Captain.
Well,
Oh, all right.
let me, if I
Okay,
get my Miss
Ci-
Manners book out.
Cider Girl, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, I feel like often you would say that, like the elders go first.
Oh, I see. I see.
You
All
know,
right.
so it might
right,
be
Since since after we I am the between the two that are left, I am the default elder. Wouldn't ordinarily be the case in this room, but now I am.
True.
I actually have with me to no one's surprise in particular. I have a
Sponsored pour.
that's
A
right. It's
sponsored pour.
a sponsored pour from the Beer and Cheese Collective in Astoria, Queens. And also I should say I went there recently, and Sarah picked this out for me. Rig Lefevre, who was on our show just a few months back. They are fortunately for them, unfortunately for us, moving upstate. So Sarah is our new contact there, and I told her that we would want to do something for our Belgium trip. So she got me, this is actually a Chicago beer, or Niles, I think is the name of the city in Illinois, but it's from Une Année Brewery that specializes in Belgian beers. And this is their Quad Abbey Ale.
Quad.
Oh.
Whoa.
Oh my
So
goodness.
yeah,
Go.
so
What
I see your triple and I raise you a quad.
Yeah, I know. It's got to be what, 11%, 10%?
11%, yes.
11%, yeah.
So here we go in my Beer and Cheese Collective glass. By the way, that's at 35-11 Ditmars Boulevard.
Oh, that little spot. My gosh, this
Yeah.
is like it's
Look at
somewhere
that.
between a brown ale and that tripel that we were seeing.
Yeah.
Sure is.
Hmm.
Oh, the
All right,
tripel's
put
a
it right
lot
up to the
lighter.
edge of the glass there. It certainly is, but this is here we go.
Gorgeous. Simple can art. All right. Well, I am while you are all traveling far and wide, I am
Oh, I
keeping
thought we
it-
were going to toast. Sorry.
I
No, one more
He
pour. I
gets-
know,
he
6
gets
people.
to
This takes a
pour.
while.
talk.
You
I'm
take
keeping it nice and close to home, in the County of Kings, within walking distance of my undisclosed location, from our dear friends at Wild East. I'm drinking their Punk Lullaby West Coast IPA, keeping it bi-coastal. Let's check this bad boy out.
Love Wild East.
I know this one is a freshie too. I picked it up recently, so let's check it out.
Yeah, yes, that nice hazy texture to it there.
Good and hazy.
Oh, nice head.
It-
And you can see that darkness coming in,
Oh,
that West
you
Coast.
can.
Yeah, now it is more West Coast. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely has a West Coast look to it, and it definitely has a West Coast smell to it. So I'm trading my beaches on the East Coast to my pine forests in the Pacific Northwest with this guy.
Excellent. All right, everyone, raise a glass.
Right.
Alrighty.
Here we are. Cheers, Beervengers.
Beervengers.
Cheers.
Beervengers. Woo!
Or Prost.
Roast.
That's true.
Did we ever learn what they say in Belgium?
I did ask somebody once.
I feel there was
Yeah,
there was a
We,
period where
we
we were all
did
trying-
learn, but we didn't remember.
Okay.
I
That's
think
what
it was,
happens
we
when you're
learned but
drinking,
didn't
yeah.
remember. Yeah.
when you're drinking and you're asking these questions, unless you're taking notes, which I think some of us did. I don't. Some of us, I mean, not me, but
Yeah, my notes stopped on day 2.
yeah, because we
No,
were
I-
having so much fun.
Yes.
I did chart our beers on Untapped, so I'll be able to help out a little anyway.
Oh, good.
It got a little hazy by the end.
I get a hazy. This is a nice hazy IPA.
Yeah.
Got a very the fresh hops. I mean, if you told me it was fresh hop, if you didn't tell me it was fresh hop, I might not know. But now that I do know, I can detect that a little bit. It does have a more organic kind of flavor to it, and it's great. It's a very fresh hazy IPA, nice on the tongue. Got a real kind of little bitterness at the finish, but not too much, and nice citrusy tones. It's right on.
The hops are from Washington State, right?
Oh yeah, Yakima Valley. Yeah. I don't
So-
have a name of the hops on this, but it was 24 hours actually, not 48 hours,
Oh,
24
wow.
hours. So they don't dry out, they're put in wet.
Right away.
Yeah.
right
So,
We were
So-
lucky enough to go on a hop farm on our adventure, and we actually learned all about the processing of hops. And it's interesting to think that they just bust those open and make beer.
yeah,
Pretty
right off the
remarkable.
vine. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Or the vine, I should say.
Theirs is an extensive processing that they do over weeks or months, it sounded like.
Oh,
yeah.
is
They
it was
have it-
weeks from? But it starts like in like an 18-day window, right? Isn't
yeah,
that
they have it-
18
they-
days when they can?
Exactly. 18 days for harvesting.
Yeah.
And the
But-
thing that blew my mind and was that what is it? We were told I think it's like 5 minutes. Is that what you remember of 5 minutes
Yes.
of a hop grower's time goes into any beer that you drink
Any
minimum?
you Drink, yes.
So you
Yes,
must
pretty
enjoy your
amazing.
beer.
Yes.
Yes.
And
And
it's
and thank them while you're drinking. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I got to know. I've never had a quad. is it very different than the Tripel in terms of taste? Because I know the double doesn't taste like a Tripel.
I would say it's closer to a double than a Tripel.
Oh,
I mean, just because it has like, I feel like the Tripels are generally lighter in color, and in color this is similar to a double. And I mean, I certainly have those fruity tastes to it, a little bit boozy. I feel like sometimes in the Tripel, the boozy notes are stronger than the fruit.
That's what I agree with you on that. Yeah.
This one has a little bit more sweetness to it. I also, to hop around to our, no pun intended, to our different locations that we went to, we were specified. I just noticed on the can it says it's a quad Abbey Ale. Remember the speech we got about the Abbey ales? That is not a holy ale; it is an Abbey Ale.
Correct.
We had a guide
right.
who made it a point that these are Abbey ales, not holy ales, and sticking to this un année, brewing in out of Niles, Illinois since 2013. Is a quad Abbey Ale. So yeah, but I also really, it's very full bodied, and this is going to be a nice sipping beer.
Yeah. Well, I feel like from the quad, we should check in on the Tripel and see how that is tasting.
Yeah, it is fruity. It is also, as you said, boozy, and maybe that's the part I like. And it's complex. I think it kind of has different kind of, as you start, it's fruity to start, and then it gets a little, I don't know, it mellows out a little, and then gets a little boozy at the end, and I like the aftertaste. So other than that, it's a great beer.
How is that 50 West Brown working out?
It's excellent. It's a good brown taste, and it's closer to a stout than an ale.
Oh, okay.
Mm,
All right.
I get that. Cider Girl, you're
Mhm.
drinking a beer. This
Yeah.
is unprecedented
Yep.
in the history of Beervengers, at least recorded times.
Oh,
How did this happen?
Yeah, so we were experimenting with the Creek style beers, if I'm saying that right, which
Sure.
are beers that are very popular in Belgium and Germany,
Yeah,
where
cherry
we
lambics.
were visiting, and they really have a cherry forward flavor, but there's quite a variety from the sort of lambic one that was just mentioned, which have a lower alcohol ABV, and they almost just taste like you're drinking cherry cough syrup, for lack of a better explanation, but in a good way. The best
Yeah.
cherry, very sweet, very light. It's almost just like you're having a cherry soda, and you could just drink them all day long, which isn't recommended because they do have alcohol in them. And then when we went to Delirium, the person who was helping us, and he was pouring all these wonderful different beers, and he said, well, the red is really like that. It's a cherry beer. And so my ears perked up, and I was like, well, I'll try it, and it is different. It definitely still has the hoppiness to it, and which is the thing that I don't care for in beer. So the first sip, you still get that hoppy, piney thing that all of you like. But then after that is a beautiful, rich, sour cherry flavor. And so I just kind of power through, and then the after it's
So it
hops on
really
the
wins it
front.
on the finish. Yeah.
It really does. Yeah, hops on the front, cherry while you're sipping, and then cherry finish. So
Okay, in your cider world, you surely had some cherry ciders, haven't you?
I certainly have. Yeah. I've had some excellent cherry ones, some great cranberry ones. I'm trying to think. Doc's in New York makes some great different flavored cherries. In California makes some really good cherries. What's nice about the Belgium and German ones that we tried, that were beers rather than ciders, is they didn't stray too far. You could still tell that they came from a beer. Where some of the ciders are so flavored that it no longer tastes like apples, and it completely tastes like the different fruits, which I don't mind. But if you really were into the flavor, you might be like, oh, we lost the apple flavor, right? So I think the German and Belgians have found an interesting blend of putting the cherry in while still giving you some beer.
Interesting sidelight on that. Out of curiosity, I Googled Creek and Dayton.
Uh-huh.
See if anything's nearby. And something came up out of Dayton, Oregon. And I'm wondering,
Ah,
you said you found a creek from Oregon. And I'm wondering if that's where it would be.
Oh, the one I had was from Freem, Pfriem, in Hood River, Oregon. I had an oak-aged creek from there, so I don't know if that's in the area. But
I don't know where Dayton, Oregon is, but that's
yeah,
Hood River Valley.
Big state.
Yeah, there's a lot going on
it
there.
is.
yeah. So, people out there, if you're interested in trying a beer, but you're not 100% behind beer flavor, I would recommend this Delirium Red. It's a nice
Red.
compromise.
I must say, I barely remember
Compromise.
trying the Delirium Red. We went so deep into the
I will.
Delirium
Well-
family over there.
Yeah, I think he opened 11 different, or he
Yeah.
offered 11 different kinds of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Beer.
That sounds right.
It was
It did-
incredible.
It did feel like every time we would just sort of casually ask about something, another bottle would show up. And let's also remember that I believe it was like 11:45 a.m. when all of this
Yes.
started, if I
Yes.
recall correctly.
Yeah.
And we don't know when it ended.
I do
No.
if you're starting at 11 o'clock in the morning, have a good breakfast.
Okay.
That is very good advice.
That was a good learning.
We
Well,
had a very, very full day
We-
after
yeah.
the Delirium too, as well. So
Yeah.
geez.
We had a lot of good breakfasts, though.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
No doubt. No
We
doubt.
slept on the bus a lot too, I think.
that's how you balance everything out.
Hey,
I don't
Well-
think I ever fell asleep on the bus.
Oof.
I
On
know
this
I
trip.
did.
I know I did.
Oh yeah.
I'm sleepy just thinking about it.
All right, so I haven't really checked in with Huck or Beer Wonders beers. How are those? What's going on there?
Well, I did jump in at the beginning, but I will add that this is made with 2-row pale barley, white wheat, and rolled oats. Got some rolled oats in here,
Very
giving it
good.
the
Oats,
color
oh.
and that smoothness. And the hops are fresh mosaic hops
Oh, nice.
and fresh HBC 586 hops.
Oh, that old chestnut.
You know,
right
that
there.
old chestnut.
I was pretty sure that's what it was.
But you really can. That's where you get. I'm getting a lot of that tropical from the mosaic hops. But yeah, the freshness, it is a bit different.
Yeah.
And I really quite dig it. And though I didn't actually realize this was a hazy, so they must do dry hopping as well. But it's not mentioned here that they do that.
Interesting.
But it says highly citrus forward, predominantly orange and grapefruit with tropicals, pines, and grassy notes. Okay,
Okay.
I'll take it. Good stuff. I'll
Well-
and that's all I'll say about that. Moving
Well,
on.
I was gonna say, Huck, I'm also living that mosaic life with this punk lullaby because this one is living that mosaic and Eureka hops life
Oh,
because
yeah,
that's how that works. That's how you do that. The description I read described it as orange marmalade. I'm gonna question the marmalade character. I definitely get the orange. Like I would not spread it on toast. I
Okay.
think that's the line I would draw. I would peel it. You have to get the segments out. You have to peel off the little membrane and just go
no
with the
chance
actual.
of orange rind.
Gotta get rid of that. It's not quite there, right? But so definitely that. There's a definite resin character. It's pretty kind of weirdly like dry. It's got this like caramelly finish. It doesn't hit me with too much of the burn that you're used to with hops, just kind of like a little sweet ending.
Mhm.
I believe the word we're using is quaffable.
There we
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
Quaffable.
Quaffable and a certainly respectable 7% alcohol by volume. So
Yeah, and I love Wild East. I've been wearing my Wild East hat out here because I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys know this. I lost my tilted barn hat
what
in
on
Munich.
the trip? Oh, in Munich.
Yeah, in Munich.
Oh, that
The
sucks.
very last area.
The
Huh?
very last day, I lost my hat.
Where?
I was trying to rush back to the hotel for some reason,
Oh.
and on the way, I was getting warm, so I took my hat off and I stuffed it in my pocket. But I
Mm.
guess I didn't stuff it well
Wow.
enough.
Yeah.
Oh, you had to go to the bathroom.
Well, when you drink a lot of beer, that happens. But this beer felt particularly appropriate because while we drank a lot of good beer, a lot of excellent German and Belgian style beers and traditional beers, my last beer while we were in Europe was a European take on an IPA.
Yeah,
that was meant to be an American style IPA, a little bit West Coasty. And spoiler alert, I may have sampled this beer once before, but this is a beer that actually reminds me a lot of that last beer that I drank when we went to Bavaria's Take on an American craft beer bar.
Yeah,
So
it was a nice place.
It was the lovely
It
little
really
spot.
was.
And what's interesting, when we went to that place, it made me realize, why isn't this on a tour? Why wouldn't one of these new craft breweries should be on a beer tour? So it continues to make me think we should put together our own.
Oh,
Yes,
naturally.
we're gonna expand the
European
podcast into beer tourism.
I mean, here's the,
Could happen.
we have enough people who have dealt with that in this crew that I think we could honestly make that work. But that's
I
a
think
discussion for off the air.
Yeah, we'll do
Yes,
that. We'll
yes.
talk about that later.
I do have a traditional German outfit now, so
Oh.
I have the outfit to go along with the tour guiding if we need it.
Right.
There we go.
Perfect.
All right. Well, I think we've gotten all the tasting notes, and we've talked a little bit about the trip, and when we get to more of that, but we do have 2 new Beervengers on the show today, so I think it's time to get to an origin story.
You triggered it, Captain. You triggered it.
Yeah, I did. And I guess keeping along with the whole idea, we have 2 origin stories to be told. One has been here before, so I think probably Emil's origin story has to go first, doesn't it?
That seems about right.
All right.
Okay. So staying with the theme of Tripel,
Yeah.
I have 3 origin stories.
Oh,
Oh.
okay.
Okay.
This is why you said we might have to make this a 3-parter, Beer Wonder?
Exactly.
Exactly. I was prepared for this.
So my a little context. I grew up in a place called West New York, New Jersey, which is right on the Hudson, across from just about 42nd Street. There used to be a ferry that went over, and my mother was born in Germany, and I was the firstborn, and we lived in the same house as my grandparents in New Jersey. So there was 3 generations in the house. And when I was born, my mother was breastfeeding, and it was the tradition in Germany to have breastfeeding mothers drink brown ale.
I did not know that.
Oh, well, now you do. And I think there are multiple reasons for that. If they are anxious, it reduces some of the anxiety. It's extremely nutritious, right? And it causes the baby to sleep well.
Oh my gosh.
So again, Tripel, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh,
3
gosh.
reasons to do it. So my first beers would have been mother's milk. Let's
There you
face
go.
it. Okay.
When we air this, maybe we should add a disclaimer of like, this is not necessarily a doctor's advice.
I mean, I think that's why we get the parental advisory warning on the show.
We
We
get
have
that.
that already,
We're
so I think
explicit.
4 out of 5 Beervengers recommend.
Well, I will point out that following in that tradition, when Ethan was born, I got brown ales for Marion.
Okay.
Okay.
She only liked the Guinness, though, so she drank Guinness while Ethan was
This explains so much, doesn't it?
It does,
Everyone?
it does.
Oh, gosh.
right.
Oh, boy.
So so we followed that same tradition. So that's story number 1. Story
Okay.
number 2.
I want to step back, because since we just said your names and various things, we should point out
That is true.
that Emil is Beer Wonder's father and
Yes.
Glenn is my father. We didn't actually ever say that at
we
this
never
point.
we didn't
And,
cover that. Yeah.
and we should provide context. That's why that
Dun
story.
dun dun dun.
I know.
All right.
And
Yes.
it's important. Hophead Huck, not my father.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Oh,
I'm glad we cleared that up too.
got it.
All right. So yes.
Any other relationships we have to make clear, or is that?
I mean,
okay, got
the
it.
night is young, but so far we'll see.
This is only the first beer.
All right. So story number 2 is my grandfather, the German grandfather. I lived in their house. And when he came home from work, he worked in a factory. And when he came home from work, he would have me take his shoes off. And so I was about 6 or 7 at this time. And I would take his shoes off, and he would hand me a small pail that he had, a galvanized pail. And he'd say to me, I want you to go to Al's bar, get a pail of beer and 2 cigars. So I would go to Al's bar, give him the pail, say I need 2 cigars, and put it on my grandfather's tab. And he would fill the pail, and it had a little wooden top to it. It wasn't a huge pail. It was maybe a liter or a liter and a half, something like that. And I would take the pail with the 2 cigars, and on my way home, as a 6 or 7-year-old, what would you do with that pail?
Gotta get a little taste.
Swing it.
Oh.
And see if you could not spill anything, right? While you were swinging it. And then occasionally when you spilled it a little, you would taste it, right?
Oh, yeah, okay.
So that's story number 2.
Can we
I
quickly...
think that pail is the early version of a growler.
Yeah.
I love that, the pail of beer. And this was in West New York.
Right in West New York. Two blocks from where we lived, there was this bar, and you could do that.
Also, just another warning, please don't give this as something for your 6-year-old to do nowadays.
Yeah, I think this is generally frowned upon. Now, can we clarify around like what decade we're talking here?
So we're talking about 51, 52.
All right.
Somewhere like that.
So yeah, so the statute of limitations
or 52, 53, actually.
Okay.
52, 53.
I mean, should we just put a general thing like maybe we're not telling you I'm not going to say don't do this at home, but a lot of the things that we talk about on this show, whether you do it at home, we're not telling this is not an advice show.
Do what you want at home. Do whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly. And who's going to
all about freedom?
Who's going to fill a pail of beer these days?
That's true.
For you.
Not when we have growlers with a sealed top.
Sealed top. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right? Because you had to drink it fast. You brought it home and you drank it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, my third beer story is Tripel, is my uncle, my grandfather's son, my mother's brother, Uncle Bill, had a farm, kind of a farm that he went to strictly to do hunting in Pennsylvania. So what he did one day when I was 13, he stopped by our house and said, I'm going to take Emil hunting. And so my mother had apparently arranged this without telling me. And so I went in this car and we headed off to go hunting. And I'd never shot a gun or knew what a gun was or thought about hunting, frankly, living in New Jersey, right on the Hudson River. So my uncle says, before we go, I've got to swing by the liquor store because I'm running a little low on liquor at the farm. So we go to this off-sale liquor store. So there's no bar there. It's not an on-sale store. And we go to this liquor store and he says, I need some rye, I need some Canadian Club, and I need a case of Budweiser. So he says, have the guy put it in my car. So while the helper is putting it in the car, he says, and while we're here, give me and him a Budweiser. And the guy says, well, I can't give you guys a beer in this liquor store. And he said, and besides, he's a kid, I'll lose my license. And my uncle, of course, not willing to take no for an answer, said, give him a beer. And so to avoid a shouting match and a fight in this store, the guy just popped 2 Budweisers and handed us each one. I, of course, was mortified and was decided the only way I'm going to get out of here fast is if I chug it.
Okay.
So
Naturally.
I
This is a
drank
reasonable
the
response.
Budweiser as fast as I could, so
Hmm.
I could get out of there and not be mortified. So that's my third origin.
Yeah,
story.
it's nice that all your origin stories have the running theme of underage drinking. So yeah, with the kids out there, do like like Hawk said, do whatever you want. But we're not.
That's
We're not,
great.
we're not.
Yeah.
We're
Well, I do want to ask though, so because having grown up in a household with you, that kind of thing. Was it the fact that your first beer was a Budweiser that all of a sudden you had a taste? Because the first beers I remember showing up in the house were Sam Adams,
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
which we've talked about as being, I mean, there's an age difference here. But the first beers I remember were Sam Adams. So you had kind of eschewed this unfortunate Budweiser experience, at least once I showed up.
Yeah, well, in those days there weren't as many craft beer available. Certainly not in Minneapolis. There weren't as many available, and so I went to what was available, which at the time was Sam Adams, that was nationally distributed, and then eventually, we got to more and more craft beers. Now you fall over them when you leave the house.
Yeah.
So
well, we
they're
are
all
living
over
in the
the
golden
place.
age of American beer.
It's unbelievable, yeah, and wonderful,
Yes. All right.
Oh,
Do
thank
we
you
need
for
any
sharing.
Do we need any more connective tissue, or shall we move on to the next story?
I mean,
Well-
this was the earliest. I feel like this origin story takes us all the way back. I don't know that we've had an origin story that has taken us back to birth.
Yeah, that was really
which
really
It's almost
nice.
entirely focused on an illegal drinking. So it's or pre-legal drinking, or whatever you want to call it.
Well, you got to remember, Italian and German are the 2 parts of my family, and I got wine at the age of 7 at the table.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that makes
So-
sense.
yeah, it's just these puritanical Americans. We just need
Ugh,
to
sure.
catch
All
up.
right.
to
And I
what's
think
going
it's
on.
important to note he grew up to be a very fine individual.
That's very
Well,
Smart
well, yes,
guy.
yes.
You know.
As far as we know.
well.
So Cider Girl says, "Do what Emil did, because then you will grow up to be a good person." So
Yes.
Cider Girl says,
Ah,
"Do everything," despite her parental warnings.
Look,
Uh,
he
disclaimer.
wasn't driving. He never had to drive.
Yeah.
It's
I never
There you
drove.
go.
No,
That's true.
my uncle drove. He was the one
Mm.
drinking
Well,
and driving. not me.
ooh.
Oh.
All right. Well, I think that's a wonderful segue to our next origin story.
Captain, you have to give us some warning before you trigger it, okay?
I'm
It's very-
sorry,
It's
it's
very. Can we get a content warning here? Okay, a
Yeah,
trigger
my
warning,
ears
please.
hurt.
Yeah.
It's all right. So I think yeah, we need to hear the origin story of Glenn. I know that I've had a number of beers with you over the last small number of years, but I don't know how your beer journey got started.
Mm.
Yeah.
Basically, mine is much less exciting than anything Emil has to offer. My beer origin story really, as you know, I'm Father Brown Stout, and Captain Brown Stout is my son. And really, it's only been about 5 years ago that he started working on my palate and training me to be a beer drinker and a beer appreciator.
Ah.
Well, now I'm gonna push back a little bit there, because I do remember about 6 years ago. Wait a minute, this was the summer of 2016. So yeah, 6 years ago. We were in Austin, Texas for a family wedding, and we specifically went to a place where you used to drink beer in college in Austin.
No question about that. Stoltz's Beer Garden,
Yeah.
And one of the oldest. They claim to be the oldest brewery, or the oldest bar, or maybe even the oldest company in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
Schultz's Beer Garden does go back a long way. And I agree. I insist that if we're going to Austin, we got to go to Schultz's Beer Garden.
Yes.
It was still there.
It's still there, absolutely. And We had a fine time. The waitress even gave me 6 or 8 pride stickers for my car and for.
It just happened to be the weekend of the Pride Parade in Austin.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Got to
We
collect
in New York, we have ours the end of June. This was it like Labor Day weekend?
It was late August. Yeah, close to Labor Day week.
Okay.
Because that's when I got busted for driving 83 on the way home.
So as a youngster, what types of beers would you have at Schultz's?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I have no idea what it was, but I remember being driven all the way home to Georgetown, which is 20 miles away where my roommate lived, with my head out the window. And it was very cool. And I think it was winter. And the head out the window felt very good. I felt very canine, I guess. But
I've been there.
You've been there, yes, indeed. But yeah, that was it. I agree. That was a formative occasion, and it took me 60 years to get back again. But yeah, Schultz's Beer Garden is a landmark in Austin. Wasn't easy to find.
In the meantime, what would you have for, like, if you were getting go to a bar with your wife and you would have a drink? Or
We didn't go to bars.
Yeah, she was not much of a drinker. I do recall that when we were growing
at
up,
dinner?
there would be occasionally times when you would have your family come in and you'd go out and get some Michelob, and there would always be enough to have there to share with your family members, and then a couple weeks later when you were mowing the lawn, there'd still be some Michelobs left there for that.
It warmed up, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there were also days of Boone's Farm wine as well.
Oh, no
Yes.
kidding.
Oh yeah. These are the California years when we were wild and crazy.
That's right. You had roots in Central California.
Absolutely, yeah, Monterey Peninsula. And that is true. But and there's one beer party that we were invited to. A couple hippie wannabes that I worked with. They had an open house with a keg of beer, invited everybody, all their friends, and everybody in the office. And the only 3 people that showed up were me, my wife, and my baby son.
With a keg.
And did he drink from the keg too?
I wasn't watching.
Captain.
I'm picturing the captain crawling up on the top of the keg.
Do you have a new origin story now, Captain?
Hey, maybe it's not confirmed, but it's not. No one's here to deny it either.
Oh, right.
So you're saying your modern conversion has had a lot to do with your captain's bringing you to the
captain's guidance for the last 5 years.
Now we know he loves the dark beers, and your name is Father Brown Stout. So would you land on?
We landed on the brown stouts fairly quickly, I know that sour beer is good, but sweet beer is better.
That's fair. There is a family resemblance certainly between the two of you guys in your styles.
Yeah.
But I mean, do you tend to lean towards you did bring a lovely brown ale for us this evening, but
Sure.
Do you tend towards a darker beer? Will you eschew a hoppy beer? Like what's your taste level hit on?
I don't go out of my way for hops.
Okay.
As I say, it's perfectly acceptable to have sour tasting beer, but I like the sweet. I have to admit, I've had some very delightful chocolate beers.
Okay.
Almost tastes like chocolate sundae, and it's hard to turn down.
Nice dessert beers.
Oh yeah.
Very
And
good.
And I have a taste for Creek as well. So
Yes, that's right. That last night we were at that bar in Munich. You and Cider Girl both had the that Belgian the Lindemans Creek there.
Lindemans Creek, yeah. I knew I'd seen that name. That showed up when I was Googling Creek as well.
Yeah.
And I mean that was what's the place in Cincinnati that sort of sounds like Lindemans?
Oh, Listerman's.
Listerman's, yeah.
Oh yeah, good brewery.
Very good.
Really good.
We've been to Listerman's, Cincinnati, and Lindemans is Belgium, right?
Lindemans
Yes.
is Belgium. Yeah, I think I was confused the night we were there. I think I might have said it was England, but it is. It's definitely Belgium.
Okay.
Yeah, if I
Yeah,
recall, you had a cherry beer the very first on our very first
Oh,
year.
and yeah, along with the famous mussels.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
dear.
we shouldn't
Yeah.
talk about the
maybe,
mussels.
maybe we won't talk
Free.
too much
Maybe
about
we
the
don't talk
mussels.
about that one. That was an unfortunate
All
incident
right.
with mussels. Yeah. Um,
Uh,
but we have
wasn't
we have a distinct family resemblance here between the brown stouts, right? We understand there's a connection. And
well, I mean,
is-
as far as what we like, yes.
yeah,
Sure.
is and essentially like that is how. So because I'm noticing that we've revealed a name here, and
We
I think
have.
it's important to acknowledge that there has been a naming ceremony.
This
There's
is
not been-
another unprecedented thing. Usually we use the show to name people, but since we've spent so much time with these new Beervengers,
Well, the father has been named before.
well, yeah, we named him like a year ago. But yes, that is very true. Actually, Dad, we can't see the back of your shirt the way you just
You
said.
gotta
You have
go
to
lower.
kneel down a little bit. There
Oh,
we
there
go.
you go. There you
Yeah.
are. There you go.
It's we'll have to include that one on. He just turned around and showed the back of his Beervengers shirt. We all have our names on the back of our Beervengers shirts.
Father Brown.
Not as
Well-
dramatic in an audio podcast, but we'll do what we can to get a screenshot of that. But yes, we actually did name both new Beervengers both a year ago and while we were here. So that's something we're not going to be doing so much on this episode. But yes, it just seemed natural that if I'm Captain Porter Brown Stout, that he's Father Brown Stout. So unless anyone else out there in the Beervengerverse hears this and thinks he should have another name, we're not actually going to change it, but we'd love to hear what your alternate names are for him.
We won't change it, but you know,
We definitely won't. No,
Yeah.
but we love you and we respect you and
You had to answer.
call us. I don't know. That sounded very needy there for a moment. But anyway, so then I guess should we then move on to the other naming situation?
Well, I just wanted to acknowledge that we have a family resemblance. We have two family resemblances here, and the Brown Stouts have a deep connection. And I do want to mention that, yes, Emil and I do have a beer-based connection. And but the Wonder family, we are a wandering family, where we don't necessarily show our connection in our naming. And while initially I think we did have a beer-based connection, because both Emil, Dad, and I are IPA lovers.
Okay.
We had initially had some discussions around IPA based names, right? I believe early on we'd had some discussions around perhaps being the IPML,
IPE, yeah.
Yes.
IPE, yeah, something along those lines. But during the trip, there was a mild conversion experience that happened, and I feel
This
like
was at the Havman Brewery, yes?
Yes. So I wanted to find out, talk to us about how this naming circumstance occurred, because it does feel like it's an important part of your. I'm going to trigger it again, aren't I?
Yeah.
I did it.
So-
I'm sorry. Sorry, everybody. Sorry.
As I remember, which we were splitting. We each had two samples at that brewery.
I don't know how many
And-
samples we had. We had a
we
pile
had
of tickets where we
Well,
could
there
get
were a
them. We didn't
bunch of
use all of them.
tickets.
Yeah.
We didn't use all of them,
Hey,
but
some left on one unused. Yeah.
but Ethan and I went up and we each got one, and then I went back to get two, to get the second ones. And the bartender, who was not very loquacious the first
That is
time
very true.
we
That's
talked
a
to him.
kind way to describe him. Yeah.
Talk to him and he wouldn't say anything, right?
Rather
And-
brusque. Yes.
Very brusque. I'm here to pour beer and that's it. So he was gonna pour me the beer, and I had asked for a Tripel, and I said to him, "So what's your favorite beer?" And he became loquacious at that moment and said, "Tripel, always a Tripel."
Oh,
and handed me the sample, and that was it. He wasn't going to say any more after that.
what the hell?
So I came back and told you all my experience. And I said it like it was Bond, James Bond.
Mhm.
Tripel, always Tripel.
Yeah.
Always say Tripel.
So
Always
how I
a Tripel.
how I remember it is I was doing my best to get him to crack a smile. And I couldn't get even a half of the
Yeah.
mouth up. Thank you. Oh my goodness, we're having so much. I couldn't get anything out of him. So that you got what I will call a sentence
Yeah.
out of him was remarkable.
Yeah. Well, he hadn't said anything to me the first time. I even asked him 2 questions the first time. He didn't answer either one. But it's when I said, "What's your favorite beer?" that I think it was a question that was personal,
Mhm.
and he felt he needed to respond, especially given his predilection for tripels.
There you go.
Well, when we had the discussion with Cider Girl, and then you were like, "I'm going to get a reaction out of him," and you went up,
Yes.
you made it your mission, and well done, and it became legendary.
So legendary that it seems that you may have adopted it as your Beervenger name.
Could be.
All right. So yes, it's a mouthful, but Tripel, always a Tripel.
Now, part of
TAAT. I don't know how I know he'd want to
Tat.
abbreviate that one. Tot.
Tot.
I think you have to say tot with 2 A's.
Now,
Hey,
I've started adopting since I've come back from our journey. I've adopted just calling it a triple.
Yeah. And, it's said both ways. The only
Yeah.
reason I say it that way is that's how he said it to me.
He did say it to you that way.
He did say it to me that way. Otherwise, I would have said triple. In
Yeah.
fact, I probably said I'll have a triple when I spoke to him, and
Right.
he then said tripel.
Tripel.
Always a
So maybe
tripel.
it is.
Maybe he was
it is tripel.
correcting my pronunciation and not saying which beer he liked.
So
But
I should
that's
go
what he
back to
said.
calling it a tripel again.
Maybe.
absolutely.
Now that it's tripels have 3, or it says on all of them that it's a 3-grain beer, but that's not necessarily where it gets the name triple or tripel.
No?
It is part of the range from single, double, triple, quadruple, and they just increase in alcohol
Right.
as you go up.
And in
And
the
so-
aging process, right?
Yeah.
In the aging process. So and the tripels are always in the 8 to 9% range,
Yeah.
whereas the quads are typically around 11. And the doubles are less.
But still pretty high. I
But
feel
still-
like I've seen doubles around like 7 or 8.
Okay.
Yeah. And since this was in a bottle, it's probably 9. Because
Okay.
it continues to, right?
Yeah, it seems
Continues to
that sounds
ferment, yeah.
reasonable.
So anyway, that's
Well,
the story, and I'm sticking to it.
Excellent. I think we got around. We found ourselves saying Tripel because one of our other Beervengers is the your friendly neighborhood Tripel man, and
That's
he
right.
insists on pronouncing it that way. So that got me trained to call it Tripel, but I think there's nothing wrong with calling it a triple.
I think I agree.
I don't know. The Tripel man might come after you for that.
Two of the people on the tour, they were triples.
What's that?
2 of the people on the tour were triples.
Well,
Not-
yeah. I mean, yeah. Yes. Don and Deb can certainly pronounce their last name however they want to.
Exactly.
It's
You can drink whatever they want.
yes.
That was actually their last name was triple.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
That's true.
And it had nothing
we were-
to do with what they were drinking.
No,
I was
no.
calling Don the triple Don.
Yes, which I think was a great name for him. Yeah, the triple Dawn, or what we talked. I suggested triple down at one point. We tried to name all of our fellow tour people names. We were a little less successful than we might have liked to be, but we definitely got some good ones.
Well, at
Hey,
one point, oh, sorry, Cider Girl, please.
Well, I just wanted to give a shout out in case any of them are listening. They were
Yeah.
such a great part of the
Yeah.
tour.
They sure were.
Absolutely.
They were good sports, and by the end of the tour, were singing the Beervenger theme song with us.
That
So
was a whole lot
you
of
know,
fun.
you gotta give it up to our tour guide and our fellow travelers.
Oh, wonderful
Yeah.
people.
Man, there's so much.
because
Yeah.
There were 6 of us, and there were 6 other people on the tour who didn't know what they were
And
getting
7 if you
into.
count the guide. Yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
It and you know what? There's so much to talk about. I'm starting to feel that maybe, I mean, should we do a 2-part episode about this?
I think so, but what I'd love to hear from the two new Beervengers, if there was a top number one peak experience that they had while we were out on the field.
Oh, that's very good. Yeah, I want to hear
Yeah.
this.
Should we start with the Father Brown Stout?
Other
Or
brown,
Elder Statesman? Yes.
I received my membership shirt by the side of the lake in Bruges. And
That's right. At our welcome dinner that first night.
that had to be the highlight.
That's really wonderful. Thank you.
That's delightful.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Tripel, always a Tripel. What was there a peak
Well-
experience for you?
Yeah, it's a tough one because I had 3 of them. And so
Just like your origin stories.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
There's a tradition here.
3 favors.
the hop farm was phenomenal from my point of view.
Oh yeah.
The Belgian dinner that we had, where we made dinner in this woman's home.
Oh, in
her
Brussels. Yeah.
apartment,
Yeah.
and-
that was
excuse
great.
me, in Brussels. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's
I
Belgium.
can
Yeah,
be
so
more.
yeah.
I can be more specific than Belgium. And the third was actually the tour of the Delirium brewery, which was 100% automated.
No, it wasn't
Oh, that's
100%.
right.
Well,
Come on,
pretty-
we
I mean,
saw people working the line there.
not
it
a
was-
lot, not a lot.
Yeah, but no, we did it. We'd actually ascertain. Yeah, I'm not trying to take away from those impressive robots. They were great. But there was actually a guy on the tour who specifically said, "What's your percentage?" And there were some people there working. So
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
a high percentage of automation, though, for sure.
that's true.
Just it was, and so for me that was phenomenal. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
those
I
are
agree
my
with you.
3 high points.
It was definitely the best brewery tour I've ever been on.
Oh,
Was the
It's
absolutely.
amazing.
Hieg Brewery.
And
Hiege,
yeah.
Hiege. I don't know.
and all the beers we got to sample at it too.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was
Let's not
quite an
forget
experience. Do you have a second or third Father Brown stat?
Getting off we were actually on a tourist. We were on a tour as well as drinking.
Yes, that's true.
That is true.
We were shown a lot of
Lest
things.
we forget.
We did.
It
See
was
some
a beer and
sights.
wine tour, but yeah, there were other things besides beer and wine.
Residents in Würzburg,
Yeah.
the Golden Mirror, they called it not a gallery, not a restaurant. And anyhow,
Salon.
the room that was completely filled on all sides with golden mirrors.
Mm.
And the tale that they told about having to rebuild it after the war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they took a few shards of the golden mirrors from the rubble. And from that, plus pre-existing plans.
And photographs, I think, too, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Rebuilt the entire gilded mirror gallery over decades. And it was a special project of a U.S. Army officer that basically devoted his life to rebuilding the castle in Würzburg. And that I keep telling everybody, it was, I just couldn't believe that they had rebuilt that thing from scratch, built the thing in the first place, and then reconstructed it from scratch. That was spectacular.
Yeah, that was quite something.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. It was a beautiful place.
Yeah. The residence in Munich was bigger, but the one in the residence is a castle.
Yes.
But the one in Würzburg was probably more exciting, even
Yeah.
than Munich.
It's kind of funny, yeah, and you know they have such a French is I mean nothing against the Germans. The French I think have more. It's like they call theirs a chateau, and in Germany it's just a residence.
Residence. Z.
All right, so you know, as we were saying, I think there's so much we need to do a 2-part episode. So I think we're gonna take a quick break and and come back. Although you're going to wait another week at least to hear it, but
Yeah.
that's so we have a lot more things to tell you about. Full a more detailed version of everywhere we went. We've got more beers coming up, but we want to thank Father Brown Stout and Tripel, always a Tripel, for who, as they will from now on be known, no longer on the podcast. They will never be Glenn and Emil again. It's Father Brown Stout, Triple, always a Tripel. And so we're going to come back and talk about all the experiences we had and all the people, all the new Beervengers we minted over the time. And if you have any other, once again, any other questions, any other comments, reach out
Travel
to us
tips.
at travel tips. Sure.
Mhm.
Business plans for us to start the Beervengers tourism organization, whatever. The Beervengers at gmail.com, at the Beervengers at Facebook, Twitter, still for now, depending on what Elon Musk does to that thing.
But
If he starts charging us $8 a month, we're done. And then and Instagram at the
Yeah,
Beervengers.
the grams where it's at.
the gram is where it's at.
If you're
Speak to
listening,
us.
you know how to find us. And so please do, because we want to know you care. God, doing that needy thing again. Fuck. All right. Anyway, any other final thoughts, everyone else?
No.
I was glad to spend some great time with Father Brown Stout and Triple.
Triple.
Always a
Tripel.
Tripel.
It was a blast, and I hope we can do it again sometime.
Excellent.
Great to be here.
Sounds
Oh, but
great.
most importantly, come back anytime.
Come back anytime. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
All right. Huck, play us out.
With the Beervengers, Beervengers, Beervengers.
We're the Beervengers.
Beervengers.